Welcome back to another episode of the DailyFlip podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today we're going to be going through stories that talk about, a single story that talks about the history of shutdowns. We're actually going to do a quicker episode today, but they want to ask the question, how do we actually stop government shutdowns from happening in the future? I think it's pretty darn concise. We'll jump into it, but first we're going to do our daily debate. As we go in to this next budget cycle, how long do you think this shutdown will last? I don't know if it actually will happen, but if it was to happen, how long would it last? There are comments down there. I'd like to hear what you have to say. If you have an antithetical view, then put that down there too. Your opinion is always welcome. With that said, we're going to go to this story from National Review. Headline reads, "Want to end shutdowns. Remember the past and proceed with caution." So they actually list 4 different instances here. A bill that was first put into law in 1978, which was the Bretton Woods Agreement Act. Then they also discussed the Budget Act in 1974. Then they go on to talk about the Graham-Rudman-Hollings Act, or the Emergency Deficit Control Act of 1985. And then lastly, they have the EBA framework that was temporary, that worked during the 1990s and basically fell apart going into the 2000s. And there was a little bit of reform with pay-go in 2010. Now, what is the actual underlying idea here? We've obviously listed off a lot of these bills, and all of them speak to attempts to rein in spending in order to make sure that deficits don't happen, the deficit spending doesn't happen, and there's always some steps forward, and then there are a myriad of steps backwards, whether it be more military engagements, more social programs, regardless of the administration, there always seems to be something that they can justify spending on, and that is kind of the human condition. You can always find a reason to spend more money on something. And that's not to say it's good or bad, but at the end of the day, if your checkbook isn't balanced, you're not getting away with it. You don't get to say, hey, give me more money, loan it out to me, and just trust me and continually to make your own money. Hey, here's Alex Bucks. Here's Johnny Bucks, whatever it may be, whatever your name may be. So why does the U.S. keep getting away with it? One, we have some of the most outstanding debt, and we own a lot of debt of other places as well. But we also have a stable economy, which means over time, even if we have a lot of debt burden, we are at least able to pay off our previous debts. Now, will that always hold true? I don't know. But the ethic here, the underlying idea that this article is talking about, isn't about how we make sure that we can pay off our debt. It's about how we make sure we don't have deficits in the future, how we limit the power of Congress to continually make promises against the future of the American economy. And the underlying idea is, well, we've tried doing a balanced budget act. We tried in 1974, and in the law, quote, established the modern budget and appropriations process, organized the House and Senate budget committees, and created the Congressional Budget Office. The CBO, they're the ones that release those big reports about what is going to end up costing the U.S. more money, what bill provisions are going to affect different monetary situations across the government. That didn't actually work. After a few years, they went and said, we're going to roll it back. And then as recently as 1997, they were not able to ratify and continue the most cost-cutting provisions of the bill. Then there's also the fact that it brought in the reconciliation process, which has been used even more recently in order to get through budgets and changes to the policy of where money flows from Congress, because it only requires a simple majority. It only requires 51 votes in order to amend, and that's how we tend to do things. So I think the 1974 Act acts as the best example out of this array of 4. Which is, it ends up hurting when we do not simply make statements as simple as this. the U.S. Congress, the United States government, must have a balanced budget. Exceptions, extra fluff is only going to allow paths out. That's not to say it's that easy. It's not to say that everybody's not going to be vying for their own place. But that not only has to be the beginning premise, but that has to be the beginning line of any bill or law. Not will attempt to, which is how the language has been changed over the years, but must have. If there's no basis in those words, if there's no path forward with that explicit statement, it will only devolve further and further. And even that would be amended because that's how it originally started. But hey, maybe that's just my crazy opinion. If you want to read the entire article, you can find the link down there in the description below that like and subscribe button. Excuse me. Also down there, you can find the podcast on Spotify, Pocket Cast, Podvine, as well as the Twitter handle at Your Daily Flip, where I post links to these episodes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as well as 6 and 6, which is 6 stories from around the world in 6 minutes or less. And that comes out on Tuesday and Thursday. It's our international news segment. So with that said, there's only one more thing to say. Stay safe. Don't die.